Hello, ngHouston. Welcome back. I'm glad you could join us today. And today we have a special guest, Hanyu Choi, who is a friend of mine. I met him at ngConf a couple years ago. He's doing some really cool things. So he had a project that he was working on and he tweeted about it. And I reached out to him and said, this is so cool. You have to come on ngHouston and show it to us because I think it just wasn't sufficient in a tweet. I really wanted to see it because I think it's just cool. And I like cool things. So I brought my friend Hanyu. So Hanyu, will you say hello?
Hi, everyone.
And you've been on ngHouston before, right? Me. Yeah? Sorry, you've been on ngHouston before?
The first time I went on ngHouston was to talk about AngularJS migration.
Yes.
And I enjoyed it a lot. And
we enjoyed it too. Well, I'm really glad to have you back. I really think that your Angular doc team services is very cool, and I'm sure, and probably a lot of people haven't heard of it yet. So I really want you to show everybody, but I had a couple questions I just wanted to start with. You are working on ng China, and that's a pretty exciting project, I think. Can you tell us a little bit about what's been going on with ng China? So ng China is a conference. And yeah. It's October, what is it, 26, 27?
Yeah, it's October 26, 27 this year. And we had a very successful first ng China last year at the end of November, I think.
I heard it was really, I talked to some of the people who were speakers at ng China last year, and they said, Bonnie, you have to go. It's so great. It's beautiful. And the people, and you're one of the organizers of ng China?
Yeah, I actually started it.
Well, then I heard very good things about you.
Interactions with the speakers, but the hosts here are very, very nice. They did a lot of work to make the conference successful.
Well, I didn't know you last year, I think, or I didn't know you really very well, and I didn't know who was behind ng China, but the people that I talked to said that they really had very good things to say about you. Very good things. They said they were treated very well, and you're so good to them, and they had so much fun, and China was beautiful, and they really had a great experience. So so it sounds like you did a very good job on ng China last year, and everybody had such a good time. And so now ng China is back this year on the 26th and 27th. Do you still have tickets available?
We haven't started selling tickets.
You haven't started?
We're putting together a new organization team, and also we're trying to find sponsors to make it even more successful, bigger and more attendees this year. Last year, I think we had maybe 3 months of time to prepare for that. So I think we can do still better this year.
I think you will. I think it's going to be great. I heard such good feedback from your, and I know it's such a big responsibility putting together a conference and to have such great feedback after your first conference. I think that's really great. So I hope you have a great ng China this year. So we'll have to follow and see how things go. Okay, so let's talk for a minute about this Angular doc team services. Can you tell me, and I know I don't want to get too much into it because people haven't seen it yet and they aren't really sure, but just from looking at it briefly, can you tell us, it's almost like I don't know how to explain it. It kind of lets you see in a visual way your app structure, your own app structure. So you see like all of your different pieces. Is that right? Like, can you describe it better for people that haven't seen it yet? And also, can you tell us kind of what inspired this project for you? What made you decide that you wanted to build this?
Right, exactly. So Angular doc team service is basically doing static code analysis for your application. And the static analysis is not a new concept. People were doing that in very early days. And especially if people are familiar with Java, during the .com years, I think rational rows was pretty popular. And people were doing code generation from UML designs, such as the class diagrams. So you design your class diagrams, and then you tell the rational rows to generate Java source code for you. But then they also supported the so-called round trip. So if you didn't have the class diagrams, you had your Java classes, and you can run their tool, and then you get the class diagrams generated for you. And also there's the Java doc, which you run through a command line tool, and then they build a beautiful documentation for you out of your source code. So that got me thinking, why can't we have that for Angular? So when we first started, it was one of the hackathons that was about the Angular, because Angular 2 was about to come out, and people were trying to get everybody to learn that. So I had a bunch of guys working on that hackathon, and we thought maybe we could just analyze TypeScript decorators and then use that, extract that information, and we can come up with a documentation such as similar to Java doc. So that got us started, but we didn't win the contest, but people were very interested in this kind of tool. At the time, there's nothing like that for Angular or JavaScript, for that matter. So we kept working, and we thought that it's not very cool to just have some textual pages, right? We could do much better if we're using Angular. So we started building visualizations around the static analysis, because static analysis is not just about parsing one source file. When we have all the information from all your source code, we can piece together the big picture. So it has the benefit of always reflecting your actual application structure, right? Doesn't matter how far along you're into the implementation. So previously, if you do the design first and then implementation, oftentimes your design became out of date. It doesn't reflect the actual state of your implementation. So the static analysis has the benefit of always extracting the latest info from your source code. So that's what motivated us, and we now actually have support for not just Angular but Vue and React, and we are working with Nest.js because Nest.js, even though it's for backend Node applications, it's based on TypeScript. It has its own set of decorators and things to for us to understand the application much better, right? So we're working with Nest.js to roll out our support in very near future.
I love it. I think I'm excited so much because I've seen it, and I think the part, well, first of all, I didn't know. I didn't understand about the Java, that it came from Java, right? So your story reminded me the first time I made ice cream floats for my children. I put the ice cream in the root beer and I gave it to the little kids, and they got so excited because they never saw that before. And I had to tell them I did not invent that because they thought I was so great. So I think yours, I got excited because I had not seen the Java version, and I just thought you made it up. But I think the point when you added the visualization is really when it became something that I would be excited about, because I really love it. I think it's cool. Can you show us? Yeah, I don't think they're gonna get really, like, I don't think they understand, Hanyu, when you're saying like what it does. I don't think they really see, like, it's cool because the visualizations is, let's see it, show it to us.
A lot of people are excited because they haven't seen their application in such visualization before. It was the first time they realized that the application structure looked like that. Okay, so let me see. All right. So can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is our dashboard. If you had, for example, your organization on GitHub. In this case, we have a demo organization called Angular Doc Showcases.
And this is everybody can see this? Is this public?
Yeah, it is. It's a public repo. It's an organization with all the public repos we forked from different sources. For example, we had Angular Jumpstart from Dan Walling, and we had a bunch of React repos and also Vue repos. And the one we used to test the ngRX is from their ngRX source code. So we had this GitHub organization, and when you start using our service, you actually get your own domain, subdomain with the organization name. So here, for example, here you have this Angular Doc showcases.angulardoc.org. So this is what your dashboard should look like. And it lists all the public repos in your organization. Because we're on .org, these are for the public repos. We wanted to make this service free for all these public repos. So when you when you log on to angulardoc.org, you will see you will not see your private repos, but all your public repos will be listed here. And here you would have seen a setup button if you decide that this is the repo that you want to have our service analyzed. So here we have, I think, 16 repos, all processed already. And at the top right corner, you see the project type. So here we had an Angular project, and the Vue Hacker News 2.0 is a Vue project, obviously. And then we had these React icons to represent these React projects. And we also had the ngRX icons for projects that we had found the ngRX artifacts. For example, this platform repo, as I mentioned, we forked from their source code. So we found there's an example application in their repo. So then you can click on any of these projects and you go look at the project detail. And we have the menus on the left to allow you to look at different aspects of your application. For example, the front page shows you the summary of your Angular modules and components. They're sorted by modules or by the component type. And then at the bottom half of the page, you see all these modules with the components in those modules. And if you click on, for example, you want to know what are the injectables in your project, you click on this filter, and then you see all the injectables and the modules that contain them. And we also analyze your commit history. So here from the first commit that we can analyze to the last one, you can actually play this. So it starts from the early version, and it steps through your commits. Then for each commit, we know which files, which components were modified or created. We have these colored tags to show you that. So this is a way for you to to look at your project's timeline and how your components evolved. And then you can look at excuse me, all the JavaScript module or TypeScript modules. We don't want to confuse with the Angular modules, so we call them classes. And you can look at them by the categories too. And
I'm looking at this and I feel like this is such you know what the first thing that jumps out at me, this would be so great for onboarding. When you have a development team and you have, you know, different people on your team, and the first thing when I come into a new project is trying to understand the organization of the project, it would be so easy if this was available to understand how things are broken down, especially if you have if the names of your classes and modules in your project are very descriptive. This would be so simple.
Yeah, exactly. In my previous job, I was in charge of a team that's outsourced in China, and then later our company decided to shut down that division, and the entire team was gone. So nobody knew what was going on with the application, and we had to spend a lot of time going through the source code to figure out exactly how things were done. And it was a very, very painful process.
I'm just thinking of all the people watching right now who are nodding because they've been through that.
Yeah. And so basically, based on the analytical results, we can do all kinds of visualizations. For example, this is the visualization of your module and components. So we can see also the routes, and we can look at the module and the components in the tree hierarchy. And the dotted line shows you the imports of the shared modules. And you can also click on this screenshot button to capture this this image in SVG, I believe. So you can use it in your documentation if you want. And also the module diagram, we show the imports on the left side, exports on the right side, and the decorations in the middle. And we can also find the routes because the decorator, the routing has a decorator, and we can chase the definition to figure out all the routes and the implementing components. Yes,
can you go back 1 second? Connie and Zafar were talking in the chat and distracted me for a minute. Can you show me again the inputs and outputs?
It's the imports and exports of the module. Yeah.
That's so great. And this is all dynamically generated. Like you're not, it just, the app generates all of this for you and it just points at the GitHub repo.
Right.
And it just does all of this.
That's all you need to do. It's all automatic. The only thing, I can show you the commit history. So this is commits broken down by the committer. And this analysis will take longer time. So it can be like 10 minutes or something. It's not instant. But the other results are pretty much instant. So once you say set up for this repo, it may be half a minute at the maximum before we can show you the results.
That's awesome. Zafar is asking already. This was the same question I had, Zafar. Is it open source? Because we see it and then we want it, and I want to use this for my own projects. So I think you said if it's an open source project, you can use this app for free. Otherwise, if it's like a proprietary private project, then it's a paid model.
Right, exactly. Our product itself is not open source, but we support all the open source projects, but by providing our services for free. So
if I have a public,
you need .org domain, our .org domain is for open source projects. So anyone who had any public repos, you can use it right away, immediately.
Okay. Can we see, I'm seeing, I see if I have a public repo. Like I have a little tiny one. Can we see it?
Sure, but I cannot I cannot show it because it's your organization, so you have to set up the service. But if you like I said, if you
so these are all
like this.
On this page, you have all of these public GitHub repos that are already set up on your Angular Docs showcases. So these are just examples, like Dan Wallin, I think you had on there. This is just public available repos. So what you're saying is, to answer Zafar's question, that if it's a public available repo, you can use this tool for free. If
right,
it's,
exactly.
And if it's private, then you can still use it privately if it's a private GitHub repo. Or even, what if it's not GitHub? What if it's like GitLab or some other, you can still use it?
The other ones, we're still trying to add support. It's not that the static analysis won't work. It will work just the same, but it's the other stuff like the user management, the authentication, all these parts are slightly different. So we need to support them one by one. For example, in China, they had their own version of GitHub, and it has many projects on that service. So we needed to add authentication and user management and user authorization, all those things around that kind of service.
So maybe because this is relatively new, right? I think a lot of people don't know about it. So if you get a lot of people using this this service and then coming back and asking for features, then you're going to continue to add features and build it out based on demand, I guess. So if somebody wants to do more, or maybe if there's a company that wanted to use this product or wanted to use this app and they have GitLab, then they need to come and say, Hanyu, build it for GitLab. And then it would just be added to the roadmap, right? So
yeah,
for right now, it's available for GitHub. So what they could do is, if they could set it up so they go, if they want to check this out, go to angulardoc.org and then click get started. And so if you have a free repo, you can check it out and use it and set it all up for free. And then you switch over to, and if they do want to do the paid, it's only like what, $100 a year?
Yeah, $99 to be exact.
That's for
maybe the cost of a team launch, right?
Right. So, and that's for like your whole organization?
Right.
So if I have like an NX mono repo.
Sorry. Let me say it again. It's $99 per repo. So if you had multiple repos, you need to pay $99 each. But if
I have a mono repo
in a site license or anything like that, or even host it in your own organization, we are open to that. Just let us know.
So what if I had a mono repo with like multiple projects? Would this Angular Doc be able to handle that?
I believe so. We did have our application designed to support that. For example, if you go in your repo detail, we have these menus, right? So the first menu has this weird looking slash title because this is the root of your repo. Mm-hmm. But if you had in Angular, you're allowed to have multiple projects, multiple. I think they call it projects, and they all show up here. So if you had 3 projects, you have 3 Angular icons on the left side. But if you had like 30 of them, then it gets busy. However, we don't stop you from using our service.
Do you have one in your showcase that happens to have more than one app in the repo?
I don't believe I did, but I not in the showcase, but I did see other applications that had this.
Gotcha. So it will work. It's just not in the
Yes,
demo right now. But
it will.
and I know I'm asking you all these questions. I know this is new and it hasn't been out very long. But I think it's really cool. And you're going to have to come back periodically on ngHouston, I think. And well, you don't have to, but we would love it if you come back sometimes and show us as this evolves, because I really think that this is going to grow and you know, a lot of people are going to be using it and they're like, I think it's very cool. I like it a lot, but I know it's still young. So it sounds like there's a lot of room for growth. So if you guys are, we have some people watching online. So I just want to remind y'all, if you want to ask any questions, drop them in the chat, and I'm watching the chat. So if you drop questions in the chat, I will ask Hanyu. So did you show us, because I jumped in and started asking you questions. I didn't want to interrupt you. Did you get a chance to show us everything that you wanted to show us?
Well, I still have some more interesting stuff, but let me finish this train of thought. So
yeah, I'll be quiet.
Angular.org is our attempt to aggregate all the information, public information we can get from Angular projects. And we hope we can do a lot of analysis of these projects. So that's why we had this design, so you can look at the Angular information if you're looking for a certain repo or certain components. I hope we can use this website to do your searches. And we already collected nearly 9,000 repos. So if you open up your service on angular.org, your repo will show up here too. So that's why this is, that's why we welcome everyone to set up your service. It helps you, and also helps the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And it helps you find more little, you know, edge cases the more people use it.
Right.
We can go on there and try it and break it and then come back to you and you can continue to polish it because it's great.
Yeah. Okay, so to continue with the demo, so we can look at these Angular Angular related visualization, and I already showed the commits, so you can we rank these by the number of commits for these users, and you can zoom into any particular time period. If you had many committers, you can do this kind of scrolling. And for each commit, you can quickly put your mouse over and see what that commit is about. And also, because we know the association of the file to your component, we can turn this into your component history. So if you look at a particular component like action, stock market, retrieve, you can actually see its entire history, and you can also filter by the committers, and you can search the components. And if you want to look at a particular commit, we show you the components that are involved in that one commit, and you can then click on this link. You go directly to the GitHub's diff editor. So in this way, you can quickly navigate the your commit history.
Hanyu, what did you use to build your charts and graphs in this interface? Was it on top of like a D3 or?
It's called eCharts from Baidu. I believe it's an Apache project now. So it has a rich set of chart libraries, and it's very handy.
Does it have all the colors and the effects and everything? Did you come up with the color scheme, or did they?
This is their. The color scheme is mine, but they support define your definitions of the color scheme.
I really like it. But so you were able to modify it to get whatever color scheme you wanted in there.
Right, exactly. So for the component history, for example, we use a single color.
And then, but see how they're all different sizes on that.
Yeah, that's because of the number of components involved in that commit. I think the more components you have in the one commit, the bigger the bubble is.
Yeah, and it's got a little bit of opacity on it. I'm nerding out because I really love UI design, and I love this, and this is like an Austin McDaniel type thing. It's very cool. I like it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I don't want to keep interrupting you, but I like it a lot.
Thank you. Okay, so you can also look at your tests, right? Because we can also analyze your spec files. So we can say, okay, so these are your spec files, and the height of the chart is the number of components, I believe, tested in that. No, I take it back. Maybe it's the number of describes. I forgot exactly which number we're getting it from. So this is the details of these test cases. And you can look at your unit tests by components. So you can say, okay, well, I think we might have a problem processing showing this, but actually we know, for example, a spec file, if it imported component A or another spec file imported component X and Y, so we can actually show you for a particular component where are the spec files. So these are the useful and interesting things we can do based on the static analysis. But I think the highlight of our release is the state management diagrams. So
this is my favorite part.
Right, we spent a lot of time working on these charts, and I also tweaked the colors. I hope I got it almost right, but
Hanyu, this is the part that I was looking at when I was like, will you please come on my show? This is the part that I was really excited about. I love this, and I love the colors, and I love it's very cool. I really like, even already just the stuff that you've shown us so far. I really like the fact that throughout this whole application that you just click through something and get more details. It's so intuitive because I don't have to figure out any menu navigation. I mean, other than the left sidebar, which is pretty basic, but the whole interaction of you see something and you just click, and like almost everywhere, it's like everything it seems like is clickable, and you click and you just go through and get more details, and I love it. It's so easy. I just want to click everything.
Yeah. So if you click on this close side nav, you can zoom in to look at more detail. You click on the close side nav, we actually bring you the highlighted source code. So this is, I think,
and it just slides open right there in your app.
Right. Exactly.
I love it.
So I think this is very, very helpful for people to trying to understand what the ngRx is about, and also for others using Redux or in Vue they have Vuex. These are very important libraries that are becoming very popular these days, but it has a steep learning curve.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's not that easy because I was doing Angular for years before I started learning ngRx. And ngRx is, I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there that are using ngRx, But if you're kind of, you know, struggling a little bit with NGRX, you are not the only one. It's advanced. And at least for me personally, seeing a visualization like this is so helpful. And I don't know if anyone knows my daughter. My daughter is also a developer, and she's dyslexic. And this kind of thing is so helpful for anyone who so many people, even people who are not dyslexic, love the visualization. It's such a good learning tool.
Right. Yeah. So the thing about these libraries is they try to break down these the handling of an action into many small pieces, so that each piece, each participant in this scheme is doing a single task. That makes it easy to reason with that participant and to do unit tests and that kind of thing. But the drawback of this approach is that the code that used to handle, for example, close side nav, they used to be all in one component, but now they are scattered all around your source code. So if you're new to this, or if you have a big project with a lot of states reducers and many plantation components, and it's very hard to figure out what the interaction was. So here we try to show you, for example, if you want to, let me zoom in, if you want to load a collection, what's happening. So you see that when this, what I call action dispatcher, it's a collection page component. And on init, it's dispatching to this store an action to load the collection. So traditionally, if you didn't use this ngRX, you would have injected an API service maybe in the constructor, right? And then you start calling that API to get the collection. But here you're only dispatching this action and let somebody else handle that. This is a dumb plantational component. It only knows how to display stuff. And when it needs to get something done, it initiates the action, but it doesn't know who's going to do that. And we can now chase this link to the action definition. It has a type. And then we can see when this action is dispatched, what happened. So here we have two links coming out of this action. One is that it's handled in the collection effects. The effects are the ones that interact, that causes side effect. It reaches out to your DB or to your API, backend API service to get the book list, for example. So this is actually what's retrieving your data. And once it's done, if it's successful, it returns a new action with the payload. Or if there's an error, it fires off a loadbox failure with the error in the payload. So that's obvious when you look at this. When you look at this effect. So this has one link coming in because it's keying off that load collection action, but then it can result in either load box failure or load box success. So the effect is triggered by an action, but it fires off new action. And if the action is load success, then it gets it triggers the reducers, two reducers in fact. So you can really chase this action's life cycle and see what is happening. from it getting dispatched to it causing state changes. And then on the right side, we have these selectors that selects a piece of your state, and then going back to your presentational components to have them displayed. For example, get books collection, it's displayed here. So when you click on that, indeed, there's a pipe that selects this book selection, and the books property is now passed to this component, book preview list. So when we had the action handling logic scattered all over the place, this diagram brings everything back together. So you can use one diagram to navigate through all these. And then in the end, if you want to take a snapshot of this, you can click on this button, and we save that in your download folder. And when you open it up, it looks like this. And you can use it in your own documentation. It's a standalone SVG file.
I really think that you did such a good job with this page, Hanyu, because it's a little bit confusing. There's a lot going on, and there are so many lines going here and there, and it looks a little confusing, especially because everything's going across the effects. But as you're moving your mouse around, just on the hover, you're seeing everything light up for whatever one that you hover over, everything going in and out of that one. I mean, it's so subtle, right? You're not clicking, nothing's changing, but as you move, then you see those connections light up as you hover around. And so it is really easy if you just take a minute and kind of hover around from here to there, you see that everything touching that effect or everything touching that action will light up, all those paths in and out, everything associated with that lights up. And that's just, I mean, I just really think you did a good job, because this whole thing is so, I know I already said that. It's very intuitive, and it seems to be so easy to just sit here and kind of figure it out as you go along, just by hovering over and watching that these, it lights up with everything coming in and out of it. I really like the way you handled that. It's very mellow and zen, but it's like, it's not stressful, but it just kind of allows you to learn as you go by. And it really is so helpful for anyone who's really kind of struggling to understand this. And I'm pretty good with ngRx because I've been working with it for a while, and I have a lot of friends who are, really good with ngRx. And so I've been able to learn this because I'm lucky enough to have these great, really smart friends. But when I first started learning ngRx, this was really something that I struggled with. And I think it's so good for anyone who's really trying to wrap their head around how is this all connected, especially if you're coming on to a team that's already building an app and you weren't there when it started. And I've come on to so many teams where there's tens of thousands of lines of code, and I'm trying to, read through all that and figure out how it's organized, and it would be so much faster with this. So I really like this. I really like how you handled the mouse overs in this page a lot. You did a good job.
Yeah, thanks. And we're still working on making some of these available in VS Code as an extension. So you will get to interact with your source editor right away.
I love it. This is so great. So, Justin's in our chat. Justin, I didn't know you were on our chat. Justin Schwarzenberger said, this is a really awesome solution for helping the mind map of the workflow that's hard to get just by looking at individual files. So Justin, it's okay for you to poach my guests, and you're welcome to get Hanyu over on Angular Air if you like this, which I was going to suggest anyway, because I think it would be great for more people to know about this. I love the fact that it's free for anyone who has a public repo. And it's only $99 a year for private organizations, and I think that's pretty reasonable, because this is really great software, especially if you have a big, hairy, huge app that is complicated. And I know a lot of us have apps like that, so I love this.
Yeah, and also we will use a webhook to listen to your commits. So whenever you have an update in your source code, the diagrams will automatically reflect your new changes.
That's so great. And you don't have to update, because so as soon as you go and you get your GitHub and you set this up, how long does it take to set this up I know you said that the commit history would take a little bit, but most of these charts that you're looking at are available. Like, how long would it take it? Like, if I have a public repo that I want to use this on right now, like, how long would it take me to get all this set up?
It's probably half a minute, I think.
Oh, that's too long on you. I'm just kidding. This is really great. I love this. And Justin said you are officially invited on Angular Air to come, because he would like for you to come on Angular Air and show this off. So there you go. You heard it here first.
I appreciate it.
Well, it's a great app, and I really appreciate you coming on and demoing this for us, because I just thought that I saw your article with the introduction and the demo, and I was really excited. So I wanted you to come on and really show us. And I think this is great. I love it. Okay, so is there anything else that you wanted to, so it's Angular Doc dash showcases, or no, it's just angulardoc.org is where they would start your homepage?
Right, that's the homepage. But once you get started, your organization will have your own subdomain. So that makes it easy for you to publish your subdomain and let your users come and look at your projects.
I love it. I think this is going to be huge, and I think I should get your autograph now, because it's going to be, you're going to be like you're going to be one of our Angular celebrities. Everybody's going to try and book you. So keep me posted.
I'm glad that we can help.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I just think it's so great for training purposes, and also just for really managing very large applications on teams. Is there anything else that we missed? Is there anything you wanted to show us that we haven't gotten to?
Well, I don't have anything particular I really want to talk about, but if we had more time, I think we can look at a little bit of how the other frameworks implemented the state management. Maybe I can go quickly with one example.
You can. We do have time.
Okay. So let me use this. This is a React application, and the state management is called Redux.
That's
and
crazy. This is an Angular show. No, I'm just kidding. We love React.
Yeah, sorry. Well, yes. Well, I wanted to bring this up is because NGRX is inspired by Redux.
Right.
And also there is this thing called presentational component versus a container component that I wanted to mention. So I'm not sure what kind of decisions went into the NGRX design, because what I can see, I'm relatively new to React too, but they have a separation of the presentation component and a container component in a way they use this kind of map dispatch to props and map state to props. So what it does is on the far left side, we have these components that are only presenting the data. So it had in this file, if we move the map states to props and map dispatch to props, there's going to be no reference to any state management at all. So this is so-called a DOM component. But then you can have another component that's data aware. So it knows how to interact with your state management library. And then you can say, I use the map states to props to say the presentational component get its state, for example, the browse activities from this state.browse, or paginate links from this state.paginate. So this is where you, the container will define how the presentational component gets the data. So in this way, theoretically, you can swap out the Redux or any state library, state management libraries you currently use, and your presentation components will not have to change. So this is, I think, something that people can keep in mind when design the state management architecture.
That is very cool. I love it. I love all the visualization. I'm a very visual person, so this makes me very happy. And I know Justin didn't get to catch all of the show, but he came in a little bit late and was asking if you showed the routes graphical display. You did, didn't you? Because that's just, can you quick back on that real quick? And I know we're out of time, but there you go. Yeah, there's your routes, Justin.
This is just the routes. It's also on this hierarchy view. Because we have many components, so it gets pretty tall, but you can zoom in and zoom out. So we try to put the modules and components on the same diagram, but if the component also implements the a route, we show the routes on the right side.
This is great. I love it, and I really appreciate you coming on the show and walking us through this demo. And I really appreciate you building this, because I think a lot of people are going to find this very helpful. And you did such a good job. You did such a good job on the interface. Really, my hat is off to you. I really like this. You want to turn off your... Yeah. You want to turn off your screen share and say goodbye to everybody. And you are apparently invited to Angular Air. So, and I'm a panelist over there. So when you come on Angular Air, I'll see you again.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on the show.
Everyone for watching.
Absolutely. Okay. And you are Hanyu. Will you spell your, it's Xiao on Twitter in case anyone wants to reach out to you?
Sure. Yeah.
H-A-N-U-Y.
Xiao. Let me put on my on this.
I want to make sure they know where to find you if anyone else wants to talk to you about this.
I think I need to share the screen again. Oops.
There you go.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay, so angulardoc.org is for open source. Angulardoc.io is for closed source projects. And there's your Twitter. Love it. Okay. Well, thank you so much. That's it for us today. And we'll see y'all next week.
Thank you, Bonnie.